Book of Heaven, Volume 14, Part 11. October 6, 1922. The first plane of the human acts, changed into divine in the divine will, was done by Jesus. Luisa, the first one to live in the divine will. I was praying, and my always lovable Jesus came, and throwing his arms around my neck, told me, "My daughter, let us pray together. Let us enter into the immense sea of my will, so that nothing may come out of you that is not plunged into it. The thought, the word, the heartbeat, the work, the step, everything must take its place in my will. And for each thing you do in it, you shall take one more possession, and shall acquire a greater right. All human acts, according to the purpose of creation, were to have life in my volition, and form in it their plane of all human acts changed into divine acts, with the mark of supreme nobility, sanctity, and wisdom. It was not our will that man would draw from us, but that he live with us, growing in our likeness and operating with our own manners. This is why I wanted that all his acts be done in my will, to give him the place in which to form his own little river within the immense sea of my will. I acted like a father, who, possessing great lands, says to his son, "I give you, in your possession, the center of my possessions, so that you may not go out of my boundaries, and may grow in my riches, with my own nobility, and with the greatness of my works, and so that all may recognize that you are my son." What would be said of him if he did not accept the great gift of his father, and went into a foreign land to live of miseries, disennobling himself, enslaved to cruel enemies? Such was man. Now this plain, this little river in my volition, I want from you. Let each one of your thoughts flow in it, so that in the reflections of our intelligence, which is thought of each one, it may rise over each intelligence, and give us the homage of each thought in a divine manner. Let your words and works flow as well, so that in the reflection of our word, Fiat, that made all things and is word of each one, and in the reflections of the sanctity of our works, that is life and motion of everything, they may rise and hover over everything, giving us the glory of each word and of each work, with our own word, Fiat, and with the very sanctity of our works. My daughter, if all that is human, be it even one thought, is not done in my will, the human plane takes no possession, the little river is not formed, and my will cannot descend upon earth to make itself known and to reign. On hearing this, I said to him, "My love, Jesus, how is it possible that after so many centuries of life of the Church, that has put out so many saints, and many of them have astonished heaven and earth with their virtues and with the wonders they performed, they would not operate fully in the divine will, so as to form this plane you are talking about? Were you waiting just for me, the most incapable, the most bad little one, and ignorant, in order to do this? It seems just incredible." And Jesus, "Listen, my daughter, my wisdom has means and ways that man ignores, such that he is obliged to lower his forehead and adore it in mute silence. And it is not up to him to dictate to me the laws, whom I should choose, and the appropriate time, that my goodness disposes. And besides, first I had to form the saints who were to resemble me and copy my humanity in a more perfect way, as much as is possible for them. And this I have already done. Now my goodness wants to go beyond, and wants to give in to greater excesses of love. And therefore I want them to enter into my humanity and copy what the soul of my humanity did in the divine will. If the first have cooperated with my redemption in order to save souls, to teach the law, to banish sin, being limited within the centuries in which they lived, the second shall go beyond, copying what the soul of my humanity did in the divine will. They shall embrace all centuries, all creatures, and rising above all, they shall put in force the rights of creation that are due to me, and that concerns the creatures, bringing all things to the first origin of creation, and to the purpose for which creation came out. Everything is ordered in me. If I issued creation, it must return to me ordered, just as it came out of my hands. The first plane of the human acts, changed into divine in my will, was done by me. I left it as though suspended, and the creature, except for my dear and inseparable mamma, knew nothing. This was necessary. If man did not know the way, the door, the rooms of my humanity, how could he enter inside of me and copy what I did? Now the time has come for the creature to enter into this plane and do also something of her own within mine. What is the wonder if I have called you as the first one? And besides, it is so true that I have called you as the first, since to no other soul, though dear to me, have I manifested the way of living in my will, the effects of it, the wonders, the goods that the creature operating in the supreme volition receives. Check as many lives of saints as you want, or books of doctrines. In not one of them shall you find the prodigies of my volition operating in the creature, and of the creature operating in it. At the most, you shall find resignation, union of wills, but in not one of them shall you find the divine will operating in her, and she in it. This means that the time had not come in which my goodness would call the creature to live in this sublime state. Even the very way I make you pray cannot be found in anyone else. Therefore be attentive. My justice demands this. My love is delirious. So my wisdom disposes everything in order to obtain the intent. It is the rights, the glory of creation that we want from you. October 9th, 1922. The human will acting in the divine. Continuing in my usual state, my always lovable Jesus comes, all tenderness, squeezes me in his arms, kisses me, and tells me, who knows how many times, my daughter, the daughter of my will, how dear you are to me. Listen, as your will enters into me, it empties itself of you, and mine enters, acting in you. And as mine acts, yours receives the strength of the creative power and remains acting in me. And since I am one single point, as I contain everything, embrace everything, do everything, I see your will acting in me with my creative power, wanting to give me everything and requite me for all. And to my highest contentment, I see it before me from the very instant in which I issued the whole creation. Leaving everyone behind, it comes forward, ahead of everyone, as if you were the first one to be created by me, in whom no split of wills exists between you and me, just as I would have wanted the first man to be. And it gives me the honor, the glory, the love, as if creation had not gone out of my will. What taste, what contentment I feel! You cannot understand. The order of creation is given back to me. The harmonies, the joys, alternate together. I see this human will acting in me, in the light of the sun, upon the waves of the sea, in the flickering of the stars, on everything. And it gives me the glory of all the goods that these created things give to man. What happiness! It resembles me in everything, with this difference. I am one single point, and you, little by little, as you keep operating, thinking, speaking, loving in my will, take more space and form divine births in it. October 19th, 1922, the humanity of Jesus lived in the center of the eternal volition. The more values and effects one knows, the more one receives of the divine will. Long waiting of Jesus, for many centuries, to make his will known. Continuing to remain all abandoned in the arms of my sweet Jesus, I felt all immersed in his most holy volition, finding myself as though in its center. Then on coming he told me, "My daughter, my humanity lived as though in the center of the eternal sun of my divine will. And since rays started from this center, that carrying my immensity with them, enveloped everything and everyone, my operating, starting from this center, was as though in act for each active creature, each word as though in act for each word, each thought as though in act for each thought, and so with all the rest. And as it descended, it ascended again into its center as one single act, carrying all human acts with itself, in order to redo them and reorder them, according to the will of my Father. Therefore, only because my humanity lived in the center of the eternal volition, was I able to embrace everyone as one single act, in order to accomplish with decorum, and worthy of me, the work of redemption. Otherwise, it would have been an incomplete work and unworthy of me. And just as the split of the human will from the divine was all the evil of man, so the stable union of the will of my humanity with the divine was to form all his good. This happened to me as though naturally. Look at the sun. What is it? A ball of light, and it diffuses this light equally to the right, to the left, to the front, to the back, above, below, everywhere. The light of many centuries past is the same as that of today. Nothing has changed, neither light nor heat, and the light of today shall be that of the end of the centuries. If the sun had reason, it could tell of all human acts. Even more, it would keep them within itself as its own property, having been itself life, effect, and cause of each act. And this is as something natural to it. Now, all this happens for the soul who lives in the center of my will. She embraces all, and no one escapes her. She acts for all, and omits nothing. Together with me, she shall do nothing but diffuse herself to the right and to the left, to the front and to the back, but in a simple and natural way. And as she operates in my will, she makes the round of all centuries, and for all human acts, she elevates her act in a divine manner by virtue of my will. Listen, my daughter, regenerated in my supreme volition, to what I want to make of you and in you. I want to repeat what my humanity did in the divine will, but I want your will united with mine, so that you may repeat together with me what I did and still do. In my will there are all the acts that my humanity did, both external and interior. Of the external acts, it is known more or less what I did, and if the creature wants to, she can unite with me and share in the good I did. And I feel contentment, because I see my good in the midst of creatures, as though multiplied by virtue of the union they form with me. My acts are placed as though in a bank, and I collect the interest. On the other hand, little or nothing is known of the interior acts that my humanity did in the divine will for love of all. So how can the creature unite with me and share in that good, if she knows neither the power of this will, nor how my soul operated in it, nor what I did? Knowledge brings with itself the value, the effects, the life of that good. An object provides as much utility for as much as it is known, and many times it happens with two objects having the same value that someone who knows more about the value in selling it earns more, while someone else who does not have that knowledge gives it up for less. How much does knowledge accomplish? Many become rich because they take the care of knowing things. Others find themselves in the same means, but are poor because they do not know things well. Now, since I want you together with me also in my interior acts, that my humanity did in this supreme volition, it is right that I would make known to you the qualities, the value, the effects, the power, and the way that this will of mine has. And as I keep manifesting them to you, I open between you and me the participation in that which I make you know. Otherwise, why would I say it to you? Perhaps to give you simple news? No, no. When I make something known, it is because I want to give. So as many values and effects as you know, so much have I given to you. See, then, the great good I want to do, not only to you, but also to others. In fact, as the knowledge of the living in my will makes its way, it shall be loved more, and love shall make them absorb all the good that the knowledge, as prolific mother, has delivered for them. I am not the isolated God. No, I want the creature together with me. My echo must resound in hers, and hers in mine, so as to make them one. And if I have waited for so many centuries to make known my will operating in the creature, and hers operating in mine, almost elevating it to my own level, it is because I had to prepare and dispose the creatures to move from minor to greater knowledges. I had to act like a teacher who had to teach the vowels, the consonants, and then move on to compositions. Until now, nothing but vowels and consonants was known about my will. It was necessary that I move on to compositions, and this shall unfold for me the life of my will. The first composition I want from you. If you are attentive, you shall do it well, so as to give me the honor of an essay given to you by your Jesus, the most noble essay, the essay of the eternal will, that shall bring to me the greatest glory, and forming the connection with creatures, shall make known new horizons, new heavens, and new excesses of my love. See, in my supreme will are all my interior acts that my humanity did, as though in waiting to come out as messengers, to put themselves on the way. These acts were done for creatures, and want to give themselves, and make themselves known. And since they cannot give themselves, they feel as though imprisoned, and they pray, they implore my will to make them known, so as to be able to give the good they contain. I find myself in the condition of a poor mother, who has held her child inside her womb for a long time. And as the time comes to deliver, if she doesn't, she agonizes, she anguishes, and heedless of her own life, at any cost, she wants to give birth to her child. The hours, the days of delay, seem years and centuries to her. She has done and disposed everything. There is nothing left but to deliver it. So I am. More than mother, for many centuries I have held within me, more than child, all my human acts done in the sanctity of the eternal volition, in order to give them to the creature. And as they give themselves, they shall elevate the human acts of the creature into divine acts, and shall adorn her with the most beautiful beauties, making her live with the life of my will, giving her the value, the effects, the goods that my will possesses. Therefore, more than mother, I agonize, I anguish, I burn, for I want to deliver this birth from my will. The time has come. There is nothing left but to find the one who would receive the first birth, so as to continue with other births and other creatures. This is why I say to you, be attentive. Enlarge your heart to be able to receive all the value, the effects, the knowledge that my will contains, so that I may place the first birth in you. How much joy you shall give me! You shall be the beginning of my happiness upon earth. I could say that the human will rendered me unhappy in the midst of creatures, and my will operating in the creature shall restore my happiness. October 24th, 1922. The divine will opens currents between heaven and earth, and forms in the soul the deposit of the celestial goods. My always lovable Jesus continues to speak to me about his most holy will. He seems to me like a true teacher, who, while it appears he has nothing else to teach to his disciple, it is nothing but rest that he is taking, to be able to enter the field again and give more sublime lessons, such as to captivate the attention of the boy and win his love and veneration. So on coming he told me, "My daughter, how many prodigies does my supreme volition operating in the creature contain? As the soul lets this holy will enter into her, and herself into it, and she lets it operate in everything, even in the littlest things, she already places herself in the current between the will operating within the divine persons and their same will operating in the creature. So, if they love or want to give love, they find a place in which to deposit this love, because at one point of the earth, there is their will operating in the creature that can receive this love, and rising up into the womb of the divinity, their same will, as though divided in two, in the creature and in the divinity, while it is always one, shall bring to them the requital of their love in a divine manner on the part of the creature. And here is how the eternal love places itself in current between heaven and earth, descending and ascending with no hindrance. There is the one who can receive its deposit. Their own will, operating in the creature, shall be jealous in holding it in safekeeping. In the same way, if my divinity wants to issue from itself its beauty, its truths, its power, its infinite graces, it has a place in which to make the deposit of them, its own will operating in the creature. The current is open. My will shall maintain the pace in jealously keeping my beauty, my truths, my power, and in giving me thanks for my infinite graces. So I shall no longer be defrauded in anything. I shall be in perfect harmony between my will operating in the creature and that of heaven. How many more of my things shall I make known? My suffocated love shall be free when I have formed my deposit, and the currents between heaven and earth shall always be open. October 27th, 1922. The Divine Will. Inheritance of Jesus for the creatures. The two generations. I was thinking to myself about all that was written in these past days, and I thought to myself, how is it possible that my sweet Jesus has waited for so long to make known all that his humanity operated in the divine will for love of creatures? But while I was thinking of this, my always lovable Jesus, making himself seen, with his heart opened, told me, "Daughter of my will, why concern yourself? This happened also in creation. How long did I not keep it in my womb as really formed? And when it pleased me, I put it out. And redemption itself, how much longer did I not keep it within me? I could say ab eterno, meaning from eternity. Yet I waited much time before descending from heaven and bringing it to fulfillment. This is my usual way. First I fecundate my works. I form them within me, and at the appropriate time I put them out. Even more, you must know that my humanity contained two generations within itself, the children of darkness and the children of light. The first I came to ransom, and so I gave out my blood in order to place them in safety. My humanity was holy, and nothing did it inherit of the miseries of the first man. And although it was similar in the natural features, I was yet untouchable by the slightest spot that could shade my sanctity. My inheritance was the will of my Father alone, in which I was to carry out all my human acts, in order to form in me the generation of the children of light. You see, I was given to form this generation in the very womb of the will of my celestial Father, and I spared no toils, nor acts, nor pains, nor prayers. On the contrary, it was at the top of all the things I did and suffered, in such a way that I conceived it in me, I fecundated it, and I formed it. They were the ones whom the Divine Father had entrusted to me with so much love. They were my beloved inheritance that was given to me in the most holy supreme will. Now, after having made known the goods of redemption, and how I wanted everyone to be saved, giving them all the means that are needed, I move on to make known that there is another generation in me that I must deliver. My children who shall live in the divine will, and that in my own heart I keep all the graces prepared, all my interior acts done in the sphere of the eternal will for them, waiting for the kiss of their acts, for their union, so as to give to them the inheritance of the supreme will. Just as I received it, I want to give it to them, so that I may issue from myself the second generation of the children of light. If my humanity were not to give this inheritance that it possessed, that is, the divine will, the sole and only thing I loved, and that gave me every good, my descent upon earth would have been incomplete, nor could I say that I have given everything. On the contrary, I would have reserved for myself the greatest thing, the most noble and divine part. See now how necessary it is that my will be known in all relations, in the prodigies, in the effects, in the value, what I did in this will for the creatures, and what they must do. And this shall be a powerful magnet in order to draw creatures, to make them receive the inheritance of my will, and make the generation of the children of light come out into the field. Be attentive, my daughter. You shall be my spokesperson, the trumpet, to call them and to gather this generation, so beloved and longed for by me. Then, after having withdrawn, he came back again all afflicted, in such a way as to arouse pity, and he threw himself into my arms, as though to find rest. And I, on seeing him, told him, "What is it, Jesus? Why so afflicted?" And Jesus, "Ah, my daughter, you know nothing of what they want to do. They want to gamble away Rome. The foreigners, and even the Italians, want to gamble her away. The evils they shall do are such and so many, that if the earth were to unleash fire to burn her to ashes, it would be a lesser evil than what they shall do. See, people pop out from all sides to join together and storm her, and what's more, under the guises of lambs, while they are rapacious wolves that want to devour the prey. What diabolical unions! They band together to have more strength and storm her. Pray, pray. This is the last precipice of these times, into which the creature wants to hurl herself. You have reached the end of the Book of Heaven, Volume 14, Part 11. Fiat.